Hi, Terry.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Not bad.
Yeah? How's the last couple weeks been for you?
Fine.
Yeah? Has anything happened? Any thoughts that have come up since our last session for you?
Well, I did email one of my professors.
Yeah?
And they said that I could maybe do an incomplete for them.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out exactly what that is.
Okay. Yeah. Have you figured out? I know you said you're kind of still figuring it out. But have you heard anything about incompletes? Like how does an incomplete sound to you?
I've never done it before, so it was just yesterday, so I don't know anymore about it. But it sounds like not failing though, so that's
And how was it for you? What was the process like emailing your professor?
I mean, I like email better because then I don't have to go and talk to them.
Yeah.
And I could make it like nice and explain it. So that was good. My roommate helped me read it over and make sure it made sense.
That's great.
Yeah, so I just have to do that with everyone else.
Yeah. So you said this happened yesterday?
That I got the email back.
Oh, you got the email back. Oh, okay. So when did you email the professor?
Like in the middle of last week.
Okay, yeah. How did it go with having your roommate there? Did you end up contacting her? Did she kind of...
She just read it over.
Yeah.
To make sure that it would make sense to someone else.
Okay. Yeah. And then the response that you got yesterday, what did your professor... I know your professor said something about an incomplete, but was there anything else that your professor said? Like, how did you react to getting that email back?
Well, it was a relief. She said she would be okay with meeting up with me and talking about it and how it would work. So we just have to figure out the time.
And how does that feel? Like, how does that make you feel?
I have something to do. So it feels a little less overwhelming.
I imagine that a sense of relief can kind of come from that more positive response and having her be willing to help you through this. And this is just the one professor that you contacted? Yeah. Well, that is great. That's wonderful. I know we had talked a little bit about that before, so that's great that you've shown that improvement still. Is there anything else that you wanted to update me about, or any other changes that you've had?
No, that's the main thing.
Okay. And so I've been listening to you over these last two sessions, and we've kind of had an overview of who you are, and I'm still learning about who you are. But we've learned about your mom and your dad and your brother and the supports that you have, and then your academic situation as well. And so the two things that I have kind of picked up on are that what you've kind of been feeling and have taken little steps towards solving is kind of this lethargy, kind of having trouble with doing tasks and that kind of thing. And so we've already been taking steps, which is awesome, to get past that. But I'd like to develop a little bit more with that for you, if that's okay with you. Yeah, does that sound good?
Yeah, I think it's been helpful to come here.
Yeah, I imagine that it has gotten a little bit more of a routine going for you.
Yeah. there's I have something to look forward to.
And that's great to hear that you're looking forward to this and that it's not something that seems daunting or scary in any way or anything like that. I'm glad that it's something you can look forward to every couple weeks.
Yeah, it's good.
And speaking kind of about that, I know that you had mentioned the weekly parental phone call with your parents. Did that happen at all these last couple weeks, or have they taken more weeks off from calling you?
Yeah, we talked, and I'll be going home for Thanksgiving. That's stressful. So yeah, I'm having a lot of anxiety about that.
Yeah, so I know we talked a little bit about that at our last session, but do you want to speak more to that anxiety?
I mean, there's, do I tell them or not tell them? And also just Thanksgiving's just stressful because, family and my mom. There's all this food to make and all has to be perfect, and that's never the way it really works out. So it's just a lot of things on one day.
Yeah. I can imagine. I know it's stressful for a lot of families to kind of get together sometimes, but with your situation, it might even be an added stressor as well.
Yeah.
Again, I know we had talked a little bit before about kind of imagining what Thanksgiving might be like, but can you kind of speak to that again for me? Maybe I just want to see if anything has kind of changed in the way that you might think that Thanksgiving will go, or if you think maybe it'll kind of stay the same as what you had spoken to last week.
I mean, it'll be the same as it usually is, which is not very fun. I mean, the one good thing about it is that my dad comes up to pick me up because I can't drive. So I was thinking that might be one way that I could actually just talk to him and not anyone else. But I don't know, I have mixed feelings because he sort of tells everything to Mom no matter what, and that just sounds awful. So I could actually talk to him alone, but then he would tell her, and then
and you mentioned not being able to drive. Can you explain that a little bit more to me if you're comfortable?
I just don't like driving. I guess I have a fear of driving.
Okay.
It's very stressful. My mom was not a very good driving teacher.
Okay.
So, causes a lot of anxiety. My friend says that I'm waiting for the driverless car.
Yeah, and I know those are coming out soon, so.
But no one like me can afford those. So
yeah, I imagine they're going to be pretty expensive.
So I use the bus and go usually.
I mean, that is a great skill to have, navigating the bus system. I'm not sure how many people know how to do that, but that is a great skill to have, having the bus navigation.
Yeah, and I walk to more places than people would. So.
Yeah, and then, I mean, this campus is pretty walkable as well, so. Yeah. How often does your dad pick you up from campus?
Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Kind of the holidays?
Yeah. Spring break.
And is there ever, when you're in the car with him, can you explain to me how it kind of goes when you're in, like, what a typical car ride with your dad might be like?
we'll usually talk about, the last thing we read. Or he'll talk about, whatever sermon series he's on.
Are there ever any conversations where you talk about maybe deeper things that you're feeling, or is it more so the things that you both are interested in or have like commonalities with?
Yeah, it's mostly the things we're interested in. I think other things, I guess, are kind of taboo. Like, I guess I hadn't really thought about it, but those are just things don't talk about.
Yeah. From what you've told me, that makes sense that there might be kind of a taboo around some things you might bring to him.
Yeah. I think, it's, I guess he must know that things aren't great, but we don't talk about that.
How do you think he might know?
He has to. It's so obvious, I guess. Maybe he doesn't, but I think that he does. I see sometimes he looks frustrated, but he doesn't say anything, So I guess I gather from his facial expressions.
And when you say he gets frustrated, is it kind of out of the blue, or is it the frustration directed at you, or?
No, not like with my mom or with my brother.
Okay, yeah.
No, he doesn't really get frustrated with me.
And so, I'm trying to make a connection here, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but do you think that because he gets frustrated at these things that are more taboo, such as your brother's drinking and your mom's highly organized behavior, that because you're struggling in school, that he might also get frustrated at you and show that same level of frustration?
I think I've been afraid of that. I know it's not the same sort of thing.
That's important to recognize, I think, and I think it's really great that you do recognize that they're not on the same level.
I guess I don't really know how to talk to him about how I felt. Or to describe that. My roommate says that I've been depressed. I'm not really sure if I would call it that or not.
Okay. Sorry, I thought that was on silent. Okay.
I'm not sure if that really fits, but I know topics like that, I guess the idea of any kind of mental illness, I don't know how you would respond to that. That's not like it's sort of taboo for my family, but it's also just taboo for, I guess, the way my dad thinks about like the world and theology, I guess. That's not as welcome as an idea. I don't know, I think I just sort of wonder, like, is that what my mom would have felt like? Maybe that's stressful for her too.
It could be. And so when you talk about mental illness, are you speaking about your brother and your mom, or are you referencing yourself, or?
Well, I was saying that my roommate thinks that depressed, which I guess could sort of fit some of those things. I'm not sure yet what I think about that, but I think it's, I don't know, it's sort of hard because that's not a thing that we talked about, that could happen. I don't know, I guess I thought that made you weak. The only weak people got that.
And would you say that is due to your upbringing and the kind of way that you were like surrounded growing up?
Yeah. I mean, I think that was good.
In what ways was that made to be kind of a thought, or I guess how did it become a norm for you to think that kind of this mental illness is equated with weakness? Do you know?
I mean, just, when other people would talk about, one of their family members he was bipolar or something, and he said, well, they're lazy or they're troublesome, or, they could work if they wanted to. Their problems.
And what do you think about that?
I don't know. I think it's a little unfair, but I don't really know all that much about it.
Would you want to know more about it? Well, in the coming sessions, if you had any questions about mental illness, or if you wanted me to maybe bring in some information about anything, I can do that for you if you'd like.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Okay, that's great. And so, going back to these main themes that I've been kind of picking up on, the first one was kind of the lethargy and that kind of thing that I've been picking up on from you, which again you've been making great strides to improve, but we can just talk about more strategies for that. And then the next thing that you've been mentioning is just feeling better, and that is very important, and I agree that is very important to help you kind of just feel better. And some things that kind of go into that I've been picking up on is the idea of this perfectionism, and that seems to be a very common theme within your family and your life. And through some of our conversations that we've been having, there's this air of having to kind of fake your way through things to hide maybe the things that might not seem so perfect or might not seem so acceptable. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, I guess that would work.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I mean, I guess I hadn't really noticed, but that's something I think about a lot. But I think definitely, this semester, the fact that I'm not good at things anymore was really hard.
And I want to challenge you on that thought. And maybe it's not so much that you're not good at them anymore, but maybe you're dealing with other things that might be affecting how you're doing, and that there is a possibility to get back to, you know, how great you were at you know, your academics and the things that you used to love, and that maybe it shouldn't be such an absolute thought that because you may not be as good at the things that you used to be good at, that you can never be as good at them.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, and I mean, feel free to challenge me back if that doesn't sound like, you know, sound like a thing that is real or accurate or anything like that. I'm just trying to offer you some different ways to think about things.
No, but I guess I just hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. So I encourage you to hold that thought in your mind when those negative thoughts kind of start spiraling and you start thinking in that way. Hopefully holding that in the back of your mind in the coming weeks. And so I have here to talk more about the lethargy and like beginning to maybe enjoy more things that you used to enjoy. This behavioral activation sheet. So this is just talking about what kind of things that you want to enjoy again, what you used to enjoy, maybe responsibilities that you are wanting to take care of, and talking about where you might do these activities, the date and time of them, before you do them, and rating kind of your depression, pleasure, and achievement, and then after you do them, rating your depression, pleasure, and achievement. And this is kind of something that you can take with you and note and can kind of begin thinking about the different things that both you love and that the responsibilities that you're needing to take care of. So one of the responsibilities that you've already told me about was emailing your professor. So if you wanted to, we could kind of do this together and go through what it was like again to email your professor, the feelings you had before and the feelings you had after. Does that sound okay to do right now? Okay. So you would list the emailing professor as one of your responsibilities. And then it has a rating scale on here, as you can see. And so where were you during the emailing of your professor?
My room.
Your room, okay. And you said this happened about a week and a half ago? And about what time did you do it at? Afternoon? Okay. And you can feel free to fill out as much or as little of this as you want, whatever seems applicable to you. So before you emailed your professor, can you kind of tell me what you were feeling as far as, I know it says depression here, but you can maybe think about it as like sadness or negative feelings about yourself or that kind of thing.
Anxiety?
Yeah, anxiety can also fall into that. So we're rating it on a scale of 0 to 8 as like none to extreme and then moderate. So what would you say, and we can also put anxiety here too as something that you may have been feeling. On this scale, what were you kind of feeling at with that?
7.
A 7, okay. And then pleasure in this activity, what were you at with that?
Like a 0.
A 0. And then achievement might be hard to conceptualize in this. But I guess you can think about in the before stage, what will my achievement be like? How positive do I feel about my achievement? And then you can kind of rate it on the scale. So what would you say in terms of my explanation of achievement as far as like rating on the scale?
4.
A 4. Okay. And so after you emailed your professor, what were you feeling as far as your anxiety or maybe depression?
More like a 2.
Like a 2? Mm-hmm. And then the pleasure that you were feeling?
6.
A 6. And then achievement, what were you feeling for that? A 7? That's great. And so here you can kind of, it's more of a visual explanation of what you're feeling, and I like to think of it as a way to put your feelings on paper. And that can be helpful for some people. And so you can also do that with activities that you enjoy as well. And so listing activities and then maybe writing them down here and then maybe planning a date or time that you'd like to do them at. And by no means do you have to be tied to that date or time. But again, it's just really nice to have a physical thing to look at and kind of remind yourself, oh, like maybe I will go and do that at that time that I wrote down. And then just noting the way that you're feeling. And so if that's helpful for you, I can give this to you to take home. But yeah, just something to think about. And so having done that, is there anything else that is on your mind about that? Do you think this will be helpful for you? Any thoughts about it that you have?
For like activities that I enjoy, could I just do the after part?
You could, yeah. Like I said, like you can really take this and run with it any way that you'd like to. I'm not tying you to anything, definitely. So.
I don't see how before could really work.
Yeah.
Activity.
Yeah, definitely. So any way that you conceptualize it and think will benefit you, do it that way. That's perfect. Yeah, and so while doing that and aiming to kind of feel better and like the whole perfectionism theme that I'm noticing, this can also be a space where you can find out a little bit more about yourself and not so much completely separate yourself from who you are when you're with your family, but finding out more about yourself when you're away from your family and what you truly value and what might be different that can be a good thing. Can you think of any ways that you might be different from your family? Or I know you've drawn a lot of comparisons between you and your dad and what you and your dad really like together. Is there anything that you like that your dad may not like, or that he hasn't shown an interest in, or anything like that?
I guess.
That's okay if you can't think of anything right now. It's something to think about.
Yeah.
As we move forward and in the weeks that we're not together, maybe it'll bring you more to like noticing different things that are different from you and your dad, or different from you and your family, and what you both value and maybe not value.
Yeah, I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, and that's totally okay. And so with emailing your professor, do you have any plans going forward about that? I know you said that they talked about an incomplete. Do you have any plans with pursuing finding out about the incomplete or not pursuing that, or how are you feeling about that?
I just have to set a good time. So, it should be fine. I guess after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. How are you feeling about setting up the time? Do you know how to do that? Are you looking forward to doing that?
Well, they gave me some times that they're free, so
Okay.
I can figure out whichever time.
Yeah. And how is this process feeling for you? Are you feeling excited about it? Are you feeling nervous?
I guess a little bit of both. I mean, I guess that there is a step to do. That's good. And now with the other professors, I can just copy and paste the email, basically.
Yeah, I think that's a great step to think about doing as well. As far as emailing other professors, has that come to mind? Have you kind of figured out a plan to do that or not do that?
Well, yeah, I'm just gonna copy and paste the email I sent to him. It's pretty generic.
Yeah.
So that's my plan now that I know that it's worked for one.
That's great. And then your roommate, is she planning on being there with you when you send the other emails out too?
She doesn't need to be, I guess, because she's already read it over.
Yeah.
So I already know that it's fine.
Okay. So it was her being involved in this was more so about reading the email over, making sure it kind of sounded okay, rather than her physically being there when you sent the email? Okay. Yeah. Well, that's great to hear that you can send the email on your own, and that she's still a supportive force to you, but that you feel confident enough to be doing that. And I know last week we touched a little bit on physically going to classes. How has that been going for you?
I guess I'm realizing now that that's a little bit pointless at this point, because I'm gonna have to do some kind of incomplete. So I've tried not worrying about that right now. I'm just figuring out how to get the incompletes set up, whatever that means. And that's been good.
Do you feel better about that?
Yeah. I'll feel better when I've heard about how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. And so so that I'm understanding you correctly, you are not going to classes anymore?
No. I mean, the professor was saying that it didn't really make sense at this time of the semester.
Okay, yeah. And so what are you doing while you're outside of classes right now?
Watching Netflix.
Yeah.
My roommate gets me up to walk with her sometimes, which has been good.
That's great. Do you think that's something that you want to keep doing, like getting up and going on walks, whether that be with your roommate or without your roommate?
Maybe. It's really cold now, so I need to figure out one that is indoors. Because it's a little too cold outside to do that all the time.
Yeah. How does it make you feel when you go on these walks, or your roommate makes you go on the walks?
I feel more awake. Like I have a little more energy. Yes, it's been good. I just need to figure out a way of doing that doesn't mean I have to wear everything.
Yeah. Are you aware of any like campus facilities or anything like that that you can take walks in?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
I haven't figured it out.
Do you have plans to figure it out, or are you just not wanting to figure it out right now?
I haven't thought about it.
Okay.
But this morning when we walked, I thought that it was really cold.
Yes, it was very cold outside.
So I thought this is gonna get worse. So I should do something else.
Yeah, definitely. And there are other like indoor physical activities that you can do where you don't even have to leave to go outside and like do walking and that kind of thing. If you're at all interested in that, we can talk about that too. If you're at all interested, but if not, that's okay too.
I think there's a recreational center somewhere. So
Yeah.
I think there's probably a track or something. So that could be. I'd still have to go outside to get to it.
It's true, yes. But that is something that, again, referencing the behavioral activation sheet, you might be able to write down here and, write down a date and time. And if you're feeling up to it, go ahead and do it and write down how you're feeling. And that might be helpful too. And so we have talked a little bit about talking to your dad and about how that conversation might go. Could you imagine that this car ride you decided, I'm going to talk to him, I'm going to tell him what's going on? Can you imagine how, I know we've talked previously about how conversations would go, but how do you think that conversation would go in this upcoming car ride with your dad?
Do you feel like, because I would understand academics, do you feel like you
I guess I would try to tell him like how things happened. I don't know how to explain to him, why. I don't know how he would understand. And I don't even really understand. So it might be better not to do it before I actually understand.
I think that's very astute of you to think about. And I think with me bringing in the materials about mental health type things, if you're thinking that you might not be able to understand and that's why it might not be, that's part of why it might not be easy to talk to him about it. I think after I bring those materials in and we can go over them together, maybe you might feel a little bit more apt to have that discussion with him. What do you think about that? Do you think that would make things a little easier?
Yeah, I think because I don't even know how to explain it. So I think that would be helpful.
I know we kind of mentioned talking to your brother a little bit about what you're going through and kind of the challenges and maybe the negatives and the positives of doing that. Have you thought any more about that at all?
I guess I was thinking I would see how he is. Because it really depends on, is he drunk the whole break, or, I would really have to talk to him if he was actually sober.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes complete sense. And I remember you telling me about that, and that could pose a challenge with kind of sharing this little commonality that you two have, but that he has this other very serious issue going on, so
yeah,
that might not make him the best candidate to be talking to about this. Do you have an idea of any supports that you might have as you go home, maybe more emotionally.
I mean, I can call my roommate and see and talk to her. But I mean, that's kind of it.
Yeah. I imagine that getting home and staying there for maybe a longer period of time, that the same things you've experienced might transfer from here currently over to where you're living now. And the fact that your roommate is a support is really helping you to kind of combat some of those things that you're feeling and dealing with. So I think it's a great idea to keep in mind calling her if you are feeling a certain kind of way and maybe needing encouragement of some kind. Knowing that she knows what you're going through and has really been a great support for you. And I think that's a great plan to do. Yeah. And so we are coming to the end of our session. Are there any final thoughts or feelings that you're having right now? Anything that you're still concerned with that you want to touch on? No? Okay. How are you feeling at the end of this session right now?
Good, just a little anxious about the break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's totally understandable. And I think with the possible plan that we have in place of calling your roommate, that hopefully that will alleviate some of the anxiety that you're feeling. So I will see you after break and at our next appointment.
Good, thanks.